All right, a quick hitter here, the do's and don'ts of the interview process. Let's dive in. Let's start with some of the don'ts here. What do we not want to do while interviewing? So I'm going to read through these and elaborate as I go. Number one is do not tell your whole life story. Remember, this is an interview. It's not a memoir, an autobiography on you from birth to now, right? They don't want to hear all the details. They just want the high level, the spark notes, the movie trailer version of your life. Don't read off your whole resume. They've got that in front of them. They can read that on their own time. They're there to learn more about you and learn what they can't learn about you from your resume. Don't have generic answers. Tailor answers to the role, to the company, and to the person that you're talking to. Make sure that your story is cohesive and make sure that your story logically makes sense. So if you haven't already, go watch a video on storytelling. We're going to walk you through how to do this from start to finish. You want to make sure that your story has a clear beginning, middle, end, and ties up nicely. And don't ramble. The best way to practice, or the best way to prevent rambling, is to prepare your answers and prepare for the interview ahead of time. So let's walk through and elaborate on this a little bit with the do's. What do we want to do while interviewing? These are things that we absolutely must incorporate into our interview process. So number one is, this is one of the most important on the sheet, is keep your answers 60 to 90 seconds long. Keep them short and sweet. And the way you do this is you prepare ahead of time. So watch all of our videos on the common interview questions you're going to see. Take the time to practice those interview answers, write them down, say them out loud, time yourself. But that 60 to 90 second mark is where people start to lose interest when they're talking or when they're listening to you. So keep your answers short and sweet. Keep the tone conversational, right? You want to have a conversation. You don't want this to be them asking you a question, you answer, them asking you a question, you answer, but you want some back and forth. You want to pretend or feel like you're chatting with a friend. Crank up the energy, really, really, really crank up the energy on these interviews, especially if we're chatting over the phone or via video. You want to make sure that you're cranking up the energy to dial 10. This goes back to the interest and the excitement that we talk about in a lot of our videos. If I'm comparing two candidates side by side and they're all the same on paper and in person, but one is 10 times more excited than the other one about the role, about the job, about the company, I'm going to hire that person. The last one on this side of the sheet here is smile, and this is so important. Smiling alone right now. If I fake this smile right now while I'm talking to you, I'm going to start to laugh. I'm going to start to come across better on the phone, better in my conversations. I'm going to naturally start to be a little bit more happier. So fake that smile when you're chatting, when you're talking. It's going to make you more appealing as a candidate. Sell yourself in the interview process. We got a whole video on selling yourself and why you should sell yourself, how to sell yourself. But remember, you're there to interview and get this job. You're competing against other people for the role, so you got to sell yourself. What that doesn't mean is don't brag, don't boast about how amazing you are. Nobody wants to hear that, and that's gonna rub the person the wrong way. When you can, add quantitative facts to your answers. So what does that mean? Instead of just saying, yeah, I did a great job on that project, or I was really good at my job. Give me stats and numbers and facts. I had the top grade in the class. I was the top performer and hit my quota every single quarter, 100%. Whenever you can, add quantitative facts and stats to your answers. It'll make them come to life. Tailor your answers, of course, to the company and the role. We talk a lot about this in all of our videos, but tailor these answers to who you're talking to and what you're applying for. And then the most important one on the sheet is practice. If all else fails and you know nothing going into the interview, if ahead of time you start to practice those interviews, you will get better, I promise you. You've got to practice. You got to take the time, sit down to write these answers out, say them out loud, practice with your mom, your dad, your friend, your brother, your sister, some guy on the street. Doesn't matter, but you've got to practice these answers before the interview process.